Hello, everyone. Welcome to the panel Groundwater for All on our first Making Groundwater Visible from the Groundwater Project. And I'm your host, Everton de Oliveira. Thank you so much for joining us. Please upload your picture, watching the event, and tag it at the Groundwater to be featured on our social media pages. We count on you. Like and share our posts. Volunteer to help translate books into your mother tongue. Make a difference. Let's make the groundwater visible. Before we start, we would like to thank our sponsors for making this event possible and free for all of you. TDS, Technical Development Solutions from Saudi Arabia. Hydroplan, a consulting company from Brazil. G360, from the University of Guelph in Canada, Solinst Equipments from Canada, and Waterloo Barrier also from Canada. And also to all the individual donors. Without them, this noble endeavor would not be possible. Please join them. Donate if you are an individual or add the name of your company as a sponsor to a Game Changer initiative. Bringing water is bringing life, quality of life for many people. The access to groundwater has this beauty. When you install a well close to a community, this means that many kilometers of walking to the distant source may be spared, and time may be used for other productive activities. And groundwater is naturally protected as compared to an open source. Today, we will see life stories that will inspire you to collaborate and to volunteer on important initiatives, such as the Groundwater Project that you participate today. Prick up your ears and enjoy. We have here today Ryan Hreljac, founder and executive director of the Ryan Wells Foundation in Canada. We have Roberto Kirchheim from the Brazilian Geological Service from Brazil. Water for poor regions. Let's start. Please, Ryan, make a short introduction about yourself. Tell people who you are.
My name is Ryan Hreljac, and I'm the executive director of the Ryan's Well Foundation, which is a not-for-profit that delivers clean water to people in developing countries all around the world. But I started volunteering and fundraising when I was 6, and it became a part of my life. And I'm lucky it's able to be a part of my life now.
Thank you very much. You, Roberto, please.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Roberto, and I'm a hydrogeologist at the Geological Survey of Brazil, searching groundwater and water resources for many years. And right now, pretty much focused on the Guarani Aquifer system. And I'm very glad to be here, especially to have met Ryan, that I heard a lot about him, and it's a great pleasure. So enjoy it.
Thank you very much, you both. Ryan, could you start your presentation, please? Can share your screen? Thank you very much.
Absolutely. My name is Ryan Hreljac, and my story starts a long time ago. I would have been 6 years old in my grade 1 class, and it was part of the routine every year at my school that every year we would do something to give back. So some kind of fundraiser, whether that be for cancer, for canned food, for something. And then one year at my school, and I was in grade 1, and my teacher came into class with another idea. She wanted to raise money for kids who are our own age, and raise the money for things like pencils, books, and that kind of stuff. So for specific things. And she went through this long list of things that we could fundraise for. And then on that list, she said that $70 would buy a well, 70 Canadian dollars. And then she explained to us very quickly that kids our age sometimes couldn't go to school and sometimes got sick and even died because of not safe water. And we were 6 and 7 years old, so we didn't really understand what my teacher was talking about. We asked questions like, why don't they just go to the water fountain? Why don't they turn on the tap? And my teacher explained to us, like children, that not everyone has taps and not everyone has water fountains. And some people don't have water at their homes or their schools and they have to walk far distances to go get it. So we asked my teacher how far, and she said 5 kilometers sometimes, which didn't really help too much because we didn't understand how far that went. So she tried to explain and said, oh, that's about 5,000 steps, which didn't help because we couldn't count to 5,000 when we were 6. But I counted the steps it took me to get from my classroom to the water fountain, and I counted 10. And when we were, 6 and coming out of preschool, like one thing that was, forced upon us was this idea of sharing in the classroom and that things were equal and fair. And to hear that that wasn't the case, I think it really upset us because we felt we had been lied to. We were led to believe that we all had a chance to do well in school and go to school, and to find out that that wasn't the case, I think upset us. So I raised my hand with the idea that I wanted to fundraise for the well, to which my teacher kind of just looked at me and said, are you sure about that? Because I wasn't exactly the smartest kid in the class. I was just kind of there. But, I felt something. I couldn't stand the fact that kids my age couldn't even go to school when, sometimes I'm not even sure I like school a lot of the time. So I came home with this dedication to try to fundraise money for this well. I thought it'd be simple as just asking my parents for the money and them giving it to me. It turns out that wasn't the case, and they ended up ignoring me. And I really had to hammer home that this was something that was important to me. And I eventually convinced my parents to give me a chance to earn the money by doing extra chores around my house to raise something called an allowance, so a little bit of money. So I did things like vacuuming, washing windows, and all this kind of stuff to raise money. And the the goal was $70, and it was supposed to take me 4 months. That's how long, or not 4 months, sorry, the 40 days was how long my school fundraiser was going to go for. And by the time 40 days had gone by, I had only raised about $25. So I actually failed. And, my teacher wasn't surprised, but maybe a little disappointed, but, I was 6, so life would go on. But I thought that that one well, the $70 well, would help it so everyone in the world would have clean water. I was very young. I was very naive. I didn't understand anything about groundwater or how complicated the world's water crisis was. And because I looked at it in that context, I decided it was important enough to keep on going. So I worked hard and was able to fundraise after 4 months, $70 to build a well, or at least what I thought was a well. I went into an organization here. Let me share the video here. So here I am in my grade 1 class, and we were very, very young, but at the same time, I heard about what happened and I wanted to do it. So I ended up doing all the chores. Here's the story in my amazing handwriting. And then I was able to get a meeting with an organization that actually did that kind of thing. They built clean water wells on the ground in the developing world. So I got all dressed up and I got the day off of school. I had all my spare change.
Stylish tie.
I had a Batman tie. I don't know where it is now, but that was my favorite tie for a long time. But I definitely was dressed to the nines because it was a very important meeting. I was going to build a well and fix the world's problems of clean water. And they kind of, I went in and they were like, they weren't mean or anything, but they were like, oh, this is so cute and adorable. Let's take a photo. But then they said, Ryan, it's going to take a little bit more than $70 to actually build a well. It's going to cost at least, back then it was 1998, they said at least $2,000. But, this will help and good work and, off you go. And when I got home, my mom told my dad, the goal is $2,000 that we're raising now. And my dad kind of just like face palmed me. He was like, like he was, I looked up to my dad. He was a police officer. He's retired now. He was with the city where I'm near, and he volunteered basketball, coached the local teams. Like, he's a really nice guy, and I looked up to him. But I had a talk with him. He sat me down and he said, Ryan, you did a great job. You showed tenacity and perseverance, and you tried your best, and what you did will help. But it's okay to stop. He was an adult and he knew that the world was a big, complicated place, and that his 6-year-old son could only do, so much to do it. So he didn't want me to think that I could, change the world when I really couldn't. And I understood, especially now I understand what he was trying to say, but at the same time, I really thought that one well would make all the difference in the world. So I kept on fundraising, kept on working to try to raise money for this well. I did chores for my folks. When that wasn't enough, I did chores for my neighbors. I ended up going back to my school and doing little fundraisers. I did a Pokemon card raffle, little basketball tournaments at lunch. And slowly people started catching on saying, you know, if Ryan can do that, why can't I? And it grew, and a year later, we were actually able to build that well and went towards the completion of a well in northern Uganda at Angola Primary School. And the kids there got the first clean water they had ever had in their life. So it was at the school, it was the first water source there, and the school enrollment even went from 700 to 1,400 students. So it was incredible. And I realized then that one well wouldn't bring the world clean water, so I kept on fundraising. At the same time, the school had heard that a kid had fundraised money for the well, and they were really curious because in that culture, even more than mine, when you're a student, you're a student. You wait till you're an adult to become a member of the community. But they took that as a message for their students that they didn't have to wait to be members of the community. They could start now. So they started doing lots of volunteer work with seniors in that community. And then I was actually, my neighbors, they donated a few air mile points a few years after. They were able to travel a lot for a living. And I was actually able to go and see the well. And it was this huge celebration. There was this big festival and everyone was just so over the moon happy because they had clean water. You know, I don't have a smile that lights up on my face because I can have clean water in the morning or a shower. So to see something that I considered so small, to have that much of an impact on someone's life gave me motivation to keep on going. So I came back home and was motivated to try to do as much as I could. And, and then it took a long time. We were able to actually start something called the Ryan's Well Foundation and start spreading our message all over the world. And now we've been an organization for 20 years and we've been able to do over 1,400 water projects in 16 and 17 countries, bringing over 1 million people clean water. So my story and my message is that you don't have to be, you know, you don't have to sometimes always start as, you know, someone who's, you don't have to know everything. All you have to know is how you feel. If I never raised my hand in my grade 1 class, even though I wasn't an expert in fundraising and doing things like that, and I didn't know, it was, if I had that attitude, if I thought like an adult, nothing would have ever started. So my message is, if you find something you care about, raise your hand, volunteer, and see what happens. And that's my story. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I think you're on mute there. Yeah.
That's okay. So thank you very much, Ryan. That's quite a compelling story. I love it. And people will love it as well. So now we'll have Roberto, please tell us your story with groundwater, and then we'll come back and we'll discuss and we'll talk about ourselves on how.
I love this story from Ryan, and the picture are so really so cute and impressed. And I was not so young when I started, when I felt this commitment to do something, but this was something that was somehow in my home. We were discussing geopolitical things and philosophical things a lot, and this issue to do something social relevant was very important for me as a geologist. So I graduated and I felt, well, I don't want to go to prospect diamonds somewhere, but I want to do something that makes an impact. So that same thing that Ryan did. And then there was an opportunity for a young hydrogeologist to go to get involved in a project in Mozambique. And the requisite was to speak Portuguese, since Mozambique was a former colony from Portugal, and to have at least a minimum understanding of English and to have this technical skills. So I went on a volunteer basis. I was supposed to work with some professional guys, but they were kicked off out of the country as soon as I got there, because of, I don't know why. So I ended up being the representative of the water program for that specific NGO. It was a huge NGO on that time in Mozambique. I mean, with a very large budget, but based on road reconstruction and a hospital construction because of the war. The civil war was a great pain for the whole population of Mozambique. It was a long-lasting civil war. So I will share my screen so that you can. So here it's a bit on the Mozambique, on the right side of the African continent. And then you see those arrows where the places where
Roberto,
I've been working.
Roberto, please use presentation mode, please.
Ah, okay.
Thank
Sorry.
you.
All right. So then where the circles are the places where I've been working. So here you see also on the very bottom side, a picture made by Sebastião Salgado, is a very famous photograph that made a beautiful book on refugees, and I had the opportunity to meet him there. So the very basic, the very methodology, the basic on the methodology was to go on the field. I mean, to speak with the ancient people, to see what was going on with the water, where were the demands, and what could be done. Especially we built a water team, and we did like hand dug wells and hand drilled wells. All the techniques were manual, so no fuel, no machine involved. And it means also that we had to have the support of the whole community. So it was a big issue, this very first talks with the people to realize where the well should be done, and if we had the support we needed. And it was also the best part to work with these people, because it was very, 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 very interesting to see like 20 people drilling this drilling machine and singing this African songs the whole time. So I was in heaven, and people were very committed, very committed. So I was always very impressed. The work, Ryan knows it. The work is very hard when you do manual stuff. And well, the situation in Mozambique, because of the war, there are many stories, but it was a Marxist experience. And then they had some counterattacks from the neighbors. I won't get too much into it. This is the landscape of the places where I've been working in the north of Mozambique. It's a very high, it's a mountain region. So we were drilling on weathered granite, typical kind of rock. So this is a Enock landscape features helped me a lot to understand where probably I would have the best chance to find water. Yeah, so I worked pretty much on this very conceptual basic stuff on hydrogeology, since I had no book, no possibility for help on technical assistance, for example. So the day by day of being there was being surrounded by many kids. They were always astonished because I was so white, and sometimes they felt I was Jesus because I had long hair and Bart, and I was like taking always this tripod, which seems to be like a cross. Nah? So sometimes they run after me thinking that I was Jesus. My team was laughing a lot. They could speak Portuguese and Chichewa. This is the local dialect. So I mean, there were a lot of anthropological aspects and shocks also for me. I did many mistakes during the whole period, but I felt this motivation that Ryan felt. You know, this was the big issue of the whole thing. I felt this motivation. I felt I should do it. There was no car, I went by bike. There was no bike, I went by walking. I mean, it was really hands off. Yeah. So this is more or less how a community looks like in the places where I was working. Here you see a family of 2 co-workers of this water team that I helped to build. And I was very happy that 20 years afterwards, they were still working on this water team and drilling wells all over. So it was very nice, and they felt very honored to have me visiting them. This is part of the story. This is my best friend, Alface. Alface means, how does Alface mean?
Lettuce.
Lettuce. Exactly, because the Portuguese, the guys, they found that this is such a beautiful Portuguese word, so they called their children after this word, and this was very funny for a Brazilian like me. So here, this is a typical hand-dug well with this cement rings that we did on the place, and then this is all about going inside and digging, and then you put another ring on top of it, and then the whole thing goes down, and it's a kind of risky if the well is very deep. This one has 20 meters. So, but we were quite successful in doing this hand-dug wells. And it was, the question was always based on the discharge of the spot. If the discharge was good, we would go for a drilling method. We had a drilling tripod. And if the discharge was not that good, then we would go for a large diameter well. This is a work being done to clean inside the well, and this was a very pity story because inside the well there were lots of bones of people being killed during the war, so it was a big issue how to clean it with a lot of bones inside. What would people think about drinking this water? So there were many questions that came on the day-by-day routine that there was, I mean, I didn't find in any book, nowhere. There were many decisions that had to be taken on the spot. Always when we were cleaning a well or doing a pumping test, there were always lots of children and taking the opportunity to play around with the water. This was always a very interesting situation, and we love it. And this is, for example, after the well was done, this is the installment of the water commission, of the well commission inside the house of the responsible for the well. And then we were drinking a specific drink, very hard drink, to celebrate that the well was done and that there is a water committee. And this is also a picture of everybody sitting together in the shadow of a big tree to plan the next day. So this is something that I have learned, how to plan things on a community, on a communitarian basis. And this is what was all that, I mean, the greatest part of the work was this getting together with people, taking decisions together. The rest was manual and very technical, but very basic. So this is one of our trucks that we use to go to the field. Then you see some guys in a white clothing. This is the water team, and I arranged to them the very, they wanted a white cloth, but I mean, after 2 days of work, the white was brown. But the car is full of potatoes, full of food, full of this machine of the drilling equipments and cement for doing the hand dug stuff. And the logistic was put everything on the car, go to a place and stay there until the well is done, and then that's it. So here you see myself in the middle of the crowd. This was with my family. I mean, we stayed months together inside the villages, and so this is sometimes I felt that all those institutions and organizations working with relief, sometimes they are kind of disarticulated. They don't work together so as they could. So then I felt the necessity to go to see the Medicine Without Borders, or to see the High Commission for the Refugees of the United Nations, to see how we could work together. So these guys, they were building hospitals and they were caring for the hospitals. And I thought, well, I mean, the hospital has to do a well beneath, besides. So we need to work together, go to the place together, and this was a very good idea. And the final, I mean, the final, the end of the story was a nice place so that everybody could get water, and the water was in a good quality. So the same what Ryan so successful did in so many wells. We haven't done so many wells. I was there just 1.5 years. We did 40 places like this, but was very, very interesting. And there are lots of lessons learned that I kept to my life until today. So I think that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Roberto. Thank you, Ryan. Well, you've seen here from both of them the compelling stories on how volunteerism work and how you can get rewarded, not by receiving money on what you do, but personal reward that is, that is impregnated on your soul. Let's say you carry that for life. I had learned the experience, Ryan's experience from himself years ago when he came to Brazil to present his story. It was so interesting, so nice. And Roberto, I know him for a long while as well, and he told me the story. We had him presenting that as well. We interviewed him for telling the story because good examples are always good. So when John came to me with the idea of the Groundwater Project, I said, okay, that's great because we're going to do a volunteer work and we're going to distribute information for free for people all over the world, and especially at their, mother tongues. That's what we expect them to do, because it's everybody thinks we can speak English all over the world, and it's not true. So we have to distribute information. So thank you guys for being inspiring, for inspiring us on following our purposes. It's very important, and that's the first question I have to you. You told us a story, but what is the inner drive that takes you into accomplishing something? Do you have to be special, or would you? What is it to make it, to make it go? Any one of you, please.
I think I always felt intimidated when I was younger because I felt you had to be someone special to make a big difference. You learn about, superheroes and saints and all these people who, are selfless and give themselves selflessly to causes. And that's, fine. I envy those people. Those people are fantastic, but I'm not one of those people. When I was a kid, I liked playing, I'm Canadian, so I liked playing hockey. I liked sleeping in on the weekends. I was a kid. And I think we have this conception that in order to, be a big difference maker, to go build wells, whether it be in Mozambique or Uganda, or try to fix the world, that you have to be extraordinary, when I think that's not the case at all. And I think the support that we've gotten over the years has been, from regular people all over the world, and that's how we've been able to make such a big impact. So I'd argue the opposite. I think that the everyman, the ordinary people, have a lot more capacity and power to change the world than, over the top, selfless people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with Ryan, and I had the experience when I went to Mozambique. I had no idea how to drill a well.
Yeah.
The first well I did myself with the support of the local teams, of my friends there, was there. So when I came there, from the beginning on, I said, I'm not an expert in water. I'm not an expert. I'm looking to this equipment the first time in my life. I haven't learned this. I haven't learned anything about groundwater in the university to do that work. I mean, some theory, of course, but not to do that work. So I took the manual and I read it very carefully. But I mean, this commitment and this affirmative saying that I'm not the boss. I'm not special. I'm starting from the ground. I'm starting from zero, just like you. So let's go and do together. And let's see, let's learn from our mistakes. And I think this was very, very good. I mean, for the spirit of the mission, for the spirit of the engagement. And I could say, well, I did lots of incredible things, but I did lots of mistakes. And they count a lot. They count a lot because we learn from them. So this is something that I think it's important to say. in relief projects or in development projects, sometimes when you go with the very heavy, high technology and high expertise, whatever, that sometimes it doesn't work so well as you go as a normal, as you just get around and live with the people and stay with them and start to search for a solution for their problems with them. So I think sometimes that makes a better difference.
I just want to say I couldn't agree more. I think part of what we need to realize, especially when it comes to developing sustainable water sources, is that it's a partnership with the people in the community, so that when it's all left and done, that they're the ones who take care of the well and are responsible for it. So they have those skills and ability to do that. So whether it's working with them to create bylaws and how a well is controlled and operated, training a certain number of pump mechanics in each district where you're working in, these are all things that can be easily forgotten and were forgotten. I think there's a crazy statistic that they had they figured that in the 90s, about 80% of wells drilled by international aid organizations didn't work within a year because there was no partnership. There was no working with the local community to really get at what would keep this project up and operating. So that's something that, you know, is important to remember. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, that brings to my mind one point. Today, people are, you know, very concerned about, you know, the three words in the French Revolution. It's just liberty, you know, fraternity, and equality, right? For people today, I think most people forgot about fraternity, right? That's exactly what we're talking about here. It's how you help people in general. So we're most concerned about, you know, liberty and freedom and equality, but without fraternity, the things don't go. And this is a human aspect. We can do great things just by helping other people. So one thing that I'd like you to say is, what is in it for someone who's volunteering? What is the gain? Because people say, well, what do I? People are very, you know, they think on immediate results. But what is in it for someone who wants to volunteer and to help?
I think when you think about volunteering, it's definitely an investment in yourself over the long term. You're right. There's no immediate benefits, but I think about my entire life and the experiences that I've been able to get and the people who I've been able to meet. You know, it all wouldn't have started for volunteering. I think the only important thing when it comes to volunteering is that you have to find something that you care and you're passionate about, because you're putting in time, you're putting in hours into something that if you're not enjoying, it will sour the experience forever and you'll never end up doing anything like it again. So I think the only real good prerequisite is that you have to find something that you're enthusiastic about.
That's true. Roberto.
Yeah, and I think complementary, you don't need to go to Africa for doing this kind of things. I mean, I'm speaking from Brazil, and here in Brazil we have so many challenges and demands regarding water conflict and water uses and water shortage, that there are many very serious and good institutions and NGOs that are related to water issues, that where people can go and volunteer. And exactly what Ryan said, I mean, it's an investment in itself. And I know many young students, many came to me asking me where I can start, how to go to Africa. And I always answered this, that look around you first, and then see what you can do for some NGOs that you know that are working with these issues just in the very near or where you were living. And then some students, they ended up going to the semi-arid region, working with underground dams on a volunteer basis. Then they ended up doing their masters with the results that they have done with this volunteer work. Some of them got involved in the south with the rural settlements that are very common in the south, where water is needed for production, water is needed for consumption, and so on. Also for some NGOs working with familiar agriculture and ways to get water and to use water. There are many possibilities of getting involved. Also, very close where you are. So this is the answer.
Good. Thank you. That's true. Yeah, you learn from, yeah, you gain from your experience. Well, I'll ask you, Ryan, can you, since you put your story, tell us a little bit on how people can help, or if they want to participate on your foundation to help you, how could they participate?
Well, there are a few goals that we have for Ryan as well, or actually three. It's educate, motivate, and to build water projects. So if you're at all interested in the water projects, we have a lot of information on our website on how we work on the ground with local partners all over the world and things that we're actively fundraising for. So if you wanted to visit our website at ryanswell.ca, you could get involved in those. But I think the other parts of it is the motivation piece is when I was young, when I was a kid, I was lucky to find something that, was my passion. And, there's kids and people around the world that, are interested in lots of variety of different things. And there's lots of different problems that we have. So I think the other part is just encouraging and motivating people to take place and when they find those passions, to really get involved and do something with that. So we love sharing stories. We love advocating for other different issues all over the world. And then the other thing is that water, as we were just talking about, is not just a problem on the other side of the world. It's in our own backyards, whether it's Brazil or even here in Canada. We have issues with indigenous reserves not under boil water advisories and having water problems of our own. So we need to advocate for clean water all over the world, because like you're saying, we're all in this together, and we need to take care of our most important resources.
Yes, true. It's true. What about your work, Roberto? You're already volunteering for the Groundwater Project, aren't you?
Yes, I mean, the Groundwater Project is a huge channel to accommodate those supports like this. I mean, it's a huge project. It's a very beautiful project that's going to help people all over the world. And those textbooks are impressive. They're good. They're going to be very well used, and they are needed, especially because they're free. I think it's a pleasure to be part of that and to give my chunk of support. And also, I mean, people that would like to know a bit more about this, they can go to the Instituto Água Sustentável. They can mail to me. I mean, probably Everton or at the Instituto, they can find my email. And the Geological Survey of Brazil has lots of information that you could use. That, I mean, it's public. You have to use this information to start your own initiatives. There are many things that can be done also in the water committees next to you. And I mean, there are huge avenues where to start with. So just go for it.
Yep. Ryan, we started the Groundwater Project, and we're producing, our initial step is producing books for free. And the authors agreed that the books could be translated for free as well. No, they won't get money for the rights of the books. But we want to go much farther than that. We would like to have, we would like to help people that are not hydrogeologists, people that have a relation to groundwater, but not as a hydrogeologist, maybe as a user or just a technical person that wants to build a well, like Roberto arrived there and started, although he was a geologist, it helped a lot. But we want to reach out for more people. Would you have any ideas or suggestions? Please, if you don't, feel free, just say it. For some other printed material, printed in the internet, I'm going to be in electronic format, that we could deliver for people to help them use groundwater, to help them in their own communities, that we can reach out for other people, not only hydrogeologists. Would you have any ideas from your experience? You have a long experience.
Nothing immediately springs to mind. I think one of the things that, when we're focusing on our project work is to have as much of a partnership with our local partners and, hydrologists on the ground as possible. So I think it's just a matter of, I think the most beneficial thing is just resource sharing to, not just impart, just go and work, but also impart your knowledge and know-how on people all over the world too. So I think the biggest thing that I would have to say about that is to just remember the whole picture and to leave things for when after you go, you're leaving more than just the work you did. You're leaving, other things, which sounds like what Roberto did, and sounds like that was something I would advocate for.
Good, good. You have any other ideas, Roberto? What else could they do?
I mean, when I was searching for material, I found very interesting things at Oxfam. On that time, I can remember. I cannot say how up to date are these materials right now, but I was looking for hand dug wells and very hands-off technologies. Yes, but I'm pretty sure that some governments on the state level, especially those that do rural development projects, they have manuals for water harvesting and technologies probably, but I think I miss at least here in Brazil I miss some kind of material that fits into this place that you, Everton, just talked about. I mean, it's not a very high technical stuff, but it helps people to understand what's groundwater and what can be done. And especially also for NGOs, I think that are really interested in working with other, some list of manuals, some list of other references. I mean, I think this is something that we miss here in Brazil, at least.
Okay. Hi, Ryan. If someone that is watching us wants to team up with you for bringing, your expertise, because it's not only building a well, that very, very well from your experience. It's not only building a well, because you have to train the community in different aspects, who should be taking care of the well. If someone wants your expertise and wants to participate and help, how could they do that?
Reach out. My email is just ryan@ryanswell.ca. You can find it on our website. Feel free to reach out, and a lot of it's just like, I'm not particularly special or know any secrets or anything like that. But I think one of the most important things we can do is continue to collaborate, no matter where we are, to share know-how, share intelligence, share stories. And I think that's one of the things that's actually kept me going throughout the years. I remember when I became a teenager, actually, I became a little bit discouraged, actually, and more cynical. And just, you're getting older. I was a teenager, getting a little bit more cynical of how the world works. And I got a little down. But I think one of the things that kept me going and was able to keep going, so I'm able to keep on doing the work now, is because I had a community of people who, were a part of it with me. So I think one of the most important things you can do is to expand your community, expand the people who you work with, who you partner with. So when you do go down, there's people who you can go to for knowledge, for resources, for patting them back, whatever it is. I think that's incredibly important. So make sure you make those connections wherever you can find them. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Our time is up now. I'd like you to please make your final statement for people who's watching us and wants to volunteer for the Groundwater Project. Please make your final statement. You may start.
I will do my. Well, it was a pleasure. Really, very nice talk. And I would add a comment regarding what Brian said of not being special. Yes, and I think it's very important, especially for young people that do geology or engineering as undergraduate. They can search around at lots of institutions, also international institutions like the World Bank, UNESCO, Organization of American States, and so many others. And don't think that you don't fit into these institutions. You need to go there. I mean, there is place for young people with technical expertise, just like you have. Those places are not for very clever, special people. No, I mean, we need to occupy those spaces and to do good things and to do experiences on an international level. The same experience on the community level also, they're very important, but just go for it. I mean, don't think that you cannot go and work in an international organization or in a relief international organization, whatever, in the Red Cross or even the Medicine Without Borders. You can work with other for that institution as well. It's just a matter of willingness, knock some doors and sending some emails. So this is my message. Thanks, Everton, and a pleasure, Ryan.
Thank you, Roberto. Please, Ryan, you.
I think the main thing is just remember you're never too young to make a difference, but you're also never too old to make a difference either. So to get involved, there's never a better time than now. And just to find something you're passionate about and know that you don't have to be an expert. Those things are important, but you can also learn those things along the way. What matters most is when you find that thing, that you raise your hand, you get involved, you pick up that phone, you send that email, whatever it is, because that's what leads to, something that could end up being a huge part of your life. So never take that for granted or ignore it, because it's easy to ignore as you get older. So remember that, and who knows what can happen.
All right, thank you. If you're willing to work as a volunteer, I always have done volunteer work as a professor. I was a volunteer professor as well, and I always made a joke, because when you're doing volunteer work, if you lose your job, it's okay, because for the amount of money that people are paying you, zero, you can find work anywhere when it's volunteer work, right? So you're never worried. You work for anyone because it's always for free. So you're welcome anywhere. So please just start. You see two very good examples here. Just do it. Come to the Groundwater Project or volunteer on the Ryan Well Foundation. Come to the Groundwater Project. You have books to translate. Your initiative would be welcome. Make a difference, okay? Let's all together make the groundwater visible. Thank you very much, guys. It was a pleasure meeting you again, and success on your life, on your plans. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye. We'd like to explain to all of you that the session with Enock was recorded on a separate time because he had internet problems in Uganda. Thank you. And today we have also here Enock Obwon from Uganda. And he's a hydrogeologist working with wells in poor regions of Uganda. Please, Enock, welcome. Make a brief introduction about yourself.
Thank you very much, Everton. My name is Obwon Enock, hydrogeologist with For Africa in Uganda. I mainly concentrate on serving the unreached communities. When you look at Uganda, about 80% of the population stays in the rural areas, and the best water sources to serve these communities, the 80%, is the groundwater. Uganda is quite an interesting area, and its aquifers are mostly weathered and fractured Precambrian crystalline basement rocks. These aquifers generally have low to high yielding aquifers. They range from 0.5 to 80 cubic per well, depending on the areas. And then also we have the sediment areas, or the unconfined aquifers that are along the rivers, most especially when you look at the lower belt of Lake Victoria, and then the Albertine region. Those are areas that we find very high yielding aquifers of approximately 50 meters thick, and they can yield as much as 250 cubic. So basically, Uganda is an area that provides its communities both for irrigation, drinking water, and then for industrial use, especially in the urban areas with groundwater. So groundwater in Uganda is gold, I should say, as compared to other countries that probably are able to carry out the treatment of maybe lakes and swamps and the rest of that. So our biggest resource is groundwater.
Thank you very much. For those who don't know, Enock was the first person from Uganda
Yes.
to reach out our groundwater project, and we have a very nice interview with him when he presented himself, and he was very kind to accept to be interviewed and to mention his work in Uganda. That's why we invited him back, because his story is very, you know, very interesting, how he found the groundwater project. So I have a question for you, Enock. Could you tell us how is your work done? How is your work done? How what is the basis? Who provides funding for groundwater and for wells to be built in a way that you are doing?
Yes, for Africa is a Christian non-government organization that is purely working in Uganda and South Sudan, and most of our funding is from the Christian churches in the USA, and then also we have individual foundations from the United States. Then also we partner with other like-minded organizations like Never Thirst, Obaki Foundation, the Radler Foundation, name a few. So that's how we basically get our funding for our water wells. But most of this funding is so much geared to the unreached communities where government is not able to serve with piped water schemes that are mostly concentrated in the urban areas. So that is basically where much of our funding comes in from.
Okay, thank you. And how would you do to pick places and to select the areas where you're going to add wells? Who does that? And what is your work specifically?
Specifically, my work is groundwater exploration. So I integrate remote sensing, GIS mapping, and then of course we, as an organization, we have invested in electrical resistivity equipments. So mostly I am using electrical resistivity imaging. So we are using SuperSting R8 IP. So that is the equipment that we are using, but most of the work, the groundwork, the desk work that directs us to areas of high potential is mostly through remote sensing and GIS. And then now we combined that with electrical resistivity imaging.
Very good. And
so
how is
basically we do. Sorry?
No, that's no problem. So I just wanted to know, and how is this water delivered to the population? Who's responsible for taking care of the wells after it's built?
Yes, our approach as an organization is community-led operation and maintenance. So basically, the organization donates the well to the community, but the operation and maintenance of the well is basically put at the hands of the community, of course, with support from the local government. So that is how, because we realize that when the biggest problem that organizations have is they are eager to spend the money, but they are not looking at the operation and maintenance of the water resource. So we took an approach of, yes, we want to spend the money, but also we want to make sure that this water resource that we have put in place stays for a foreseeable future for generations to come. So it's a consolidated effort from both the local government, the organization, and the communities to make sure that structures are built in the community that they are able to maintain these wells. Of course, with advancement in technology, now we are able to install smart taps. So the smart taps, the communities are able to buy water using the smart tokens. So that money is generated to make sure that the system is fully able to run.
Oh, that's interesting. So you mentioned you used two expressions that are quite impressive. You mentioned that groundwater is gold in Uganda, and then you mentioned that you're trying to build something for generations to come. From your experience in building
Yes.
wells, how is this being accomplished? Do you think it's going to last for the future generations? Have you seen this working? The previous wells that you built, how are they being maintained? Is it working?
Yes. Yes, we have seen this. And then, of course, now we have a comparative advantage on looking at the other wells that were done before by other organizations that were probably willing to just invest in the money and not looking at the operation and maintenance scheme. We have seen that the wells that we have put in place, some of them have taken 10 years from the time we put them, and the communities are still getting water from them. They are still functioning the same way they were. So we are seeing that, yes, that is happening. And then, of course, when I say groundwater in Uganda is gold, Uganda is a country that is blessed that groundwater contamination is not a big problem. So most of the water that is extracted does not need much of the treatment. Maybe highly infested with fluorides, with arsenic, and the rest of that. So basically, we just have some areas which have metals like iron. So those ones are easier to treat as compared to other areas that probably have groundwater contamination. So being a less industrialized nation, I think we are still in the right path.
Very good, very good. So again, what do you think about the groundwater project? Do you think that groundwater project could help people learning how to use groundwater in Uganda and countries in Africa and the world in general?
Yes, the groundwater project has come timely, especially when you look at the field of geophysics. Not so many people are in that, mostly in the developing world. Most of, you can see most of you, the seniors are in the developed world. And when you look at us, the developing countries, mostly the sub-Saharan Africa, there are not so many hydrogeologists. So the groundwater project coming in and having all this wealth of information gives some of us who have already gone into that field a lot of interest to learn more. What I learned from university, as I compare to now the knowledge and the books that I am able to read, to plot all these aquifer lines and the rest of that, gives me the real first-hand knowledge. So I think the groundwater project is doing really a very good thing, but probably the only thing that maybe we will need the groundwater project to do is to be able to move to the universities and not remain as a platform, because now it is more or less for a platform of people who are already in the field to learn. But if they could move to the universities and encourage more young men and women to get into, yes, it's a very tedious field for anyone who is in hydrogeology or geophysics and the rest. It's very tedious because I think technology is still keeping us behind, that all our equipment still need manual work, although we are advancing. But I think it's a step in the right direction.
Very good point. We are trying to move towards university. You are correct. We're doing that, but it takes time. Groundwater project, it's a young project. We just started.
Yes.
A year of production, less than that we've been producing books. You are an early bird. You arrived very early, so you know the steps that we're following. Thank you for your.
Yes,
And
that's true.
but that's what we expect. We expect that universities could adopt the books and students could spread the word. And I know you're helping us because I see you doing, you liking us on social media and sharing our posts. That's what we need. It's it takes time. to build that, but that's the way to go. So I'd like you to make a final statement. That was very nice having you again, talking to us. If you guys that are watching us are interested, you can see our interview with Enock. That was very nice. He was presenting his material there. And Enock, could you please make a final statement to anyone who's watching us and your view about the future of groundwater in Uganda, and for everybody who's interested in groundwater in the world, please.
Yes, to all our friends and to all the colleagues in the groundwater sector, we still have a lot to do, especially in groundwater protection, in protecting our catchment areas. So let's involve our governments in policy generation and making sure that we protect this one resource that we will never have again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your speech is also very touching because you know what you're doing. I like it. I like it very much. Thank you very much, Enock. You're always welcome, and we'll be in touch. Thank you. It was very nice having you again.
Thank you.
We have a session of questions now from the audience. We have here with us Roberto and Ryan. Unfortunately, hello guys. Unfortunately, Enock could not meet us. You know, he has some difficulties with internet in Uganda, but he's a very, very nice guy, and we thank him for participating and pushing that for us. We have people here today in our audience from Uganda, people from Togo, people from Africa, and I'm pretty sure his influence is being felt by helping us with our project. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you again, Roberto and Ryan. Let's go. I think I have our first question. And just to mention, we have people from Yemen, USA, Pakistan, Brazil, Togo, and other places here that I haven't written down the names of the countries. Very nice. That's for you, Roberto.
Oh.
Sandra Gabas from Brazil. Roberto, is there a CPRM or the Brazilian Geological Survey project for vulnerable people from the northeast of Brazil?
That's a good question. Directly, no. Yes, because we are geological survey. But I mean, if you think about vulnerable areas for landslide, for example, there is a huge project that's going on for the last 4 or 5 years that covers all the country. And it's very specific to those places where our teams, they do the mapping for they produce a cartography specific related to the vulnerability. But concerning the water issues, not directly, but of course there are programs, and there is a huge program, a proposal right now for dealing with the water scarcity in the semi-arid region, which is and has been always a target area of the Geological Survey, and it's going to be a target area forever because it's the more dense populated semi-arid in the world. So that's only this, and it's very important to be present there. So I mean, we are looking for getting involved in those issues. So the question is, from the social point of view, not, but from the water scarcity and water security, yes.
Okay, so indirectly, yes, right? Because it's a technical,
yes. Yes.
Institution, yes, okay. So Julia Costa from Brazil, thank you for sharing your inspiring stories. I'd like to know if any of you were afraid at some point and how and how you overcame that fear. Like when Roberto got to Uganda and he had to dig his first well without any expert help, for example.
I leave to you, Ryan. You can start. I think Enock is here.
Oh, that's very good. Okay, welcome, Enock. And you have a nice outfit today.
Thank you.
No. Are you going to sing for us? welcome.
Not really.
Feel free to keep your hat. You're welcome. You could leave.
No, it's okay. It's fine. I'll turn it later.
Okay. So sorry for that, Ryan. Your turn.
Well, when I did my little fundraiser for a clean water project when I was 6, I think I was too young to be scared. I just thought I'd do housework and chores, raise a little bit of money, and then everyone in the world would have clean water. I was very naive. I didn't understand anything. And then when I got a little older, even though I had a little success in fundraisers, you realize that there's a billion people in the world and more that don't have access to clean water, even more that don't have access to sanitation. It's huge, it's complicated, and even if projects are happening, you have to make sure they're sustainable. It's just layers of complexity on top of each other. So I think the most important thing I try to remember is I did get scared, intimidated, and feared a lot of failure. But I remembered that initial instinct I had when I was a kid, that sometimes you need to, lead with your heart and put yourself out there and try to find solutions, even though you may fail, and think like a kid, think like a 6-year-old. So that's something that I always like to think in mind. If you're not scared and intimidated about big problems, then you're not looking at it realistically. But at the same time, if you look at it that way all the time, you'll never begin. So that's how I look at it.
You, Roberto?
Yeah, I mean, more or less the same. I was also very young, not so young than Brian, but I mean, the more younger you are, the less fear you have. I mean, that's a feeling that today I would never do the same thing the same way I did before. I would be very afraid of going into a place where there is war. And Mozambique, on that time, there was a long-lasting civil war. But I didn't feel afraid because of the war issues. I was more afraid of doing failures, technical failures, or doing something that was considered wrong by the local people. So to say, I mean, because of the war, I felt like nothing can hurt me. But that was wrong, because I got malaria and I was really many times in really danger places because of landmines, because of anti-tanks mines. I mean, all kinds of weird things in a place of war. But today, definitely, I would not do it the way I did.
You, Enock, you're doing today exactly what they've done. What about fear? No fear?
No fear.
So how is it? Are you do you work in some conflict areas, or you don't go to those areas? You just pick peaceful land to do your work. How does it work?
Wow, it's quite interesting. Ryan and Roberto, pleasure meeting you finally and seeing your faces. Yes, just as I have heard both of you speak about fear and the rest of this, it's quite interesting that around 3 days ago on Tuesday, my drilling teams were attacked by rebels from South Sudan. So I spent much of Tuesday and Wednesday trying to negotiate with the rebels and their safe release. And I can categorically say, yes, they were released safely without any harm. So yes, when they talk about fear, I am living in that fear every day. But the most important thing that we look at is we still have to continue to serve the communities, because that's the most important. They need this clean water, and without this clean water, there would be more worse, because these wars are not permanent. They will come to an end, and life has to continue.
This is great, yeah.
Very good, very good. So that answers the question. So you work on a dangerous situation every day, Enock, right? Is this all over Uganda or around the area where you work?
I wouldn't say very dangerous all throughout. We just have some, mostly the border areas between Uganda and South Sudan, mostly in the West Nile region, is where we have that insecurity, but the better part of Uganda is safe.
Safe, okay,
Yeah.
understood. Good. So you're living do they speak a different language there, or is the same language? Because you speak good English, and do they speak English with you or not?
No, we basically use Juba Arabic.
Okay. Okay.
So we have the predominant Arabic that is spoken in the Arab areas, Arab countries, mostly the Asian countries and Khartoum. But South Sudan has a dialect that is unique. It's Arabic, but it's not entirely purely Arabic. And then of course we have different tribes that have different languages. So you have to figure out a way of balancing all those languages and make work go on.
So you're used to that already, to so many dialects, right?
Yeah.
Good.
That is
yes.
very true.
Yes, I remember when I went to Africa, it's typical of people speaking 10 different dialects, right? It's very common. I was impressed on how you do well with that. That was very good, very good. So I have another question here for you guys, and I'm not sure if you will answer that. Imran Aziz from Pakistan, he says, how we can develop and share knowledge, entire world hydrogeological groundwater flow model, and observe its future trend and formulate groundwater management strategy for its sustainability. Wow. I don't even know if I can answer that. I think, Imran, this is not exactly the question is aimed for another audience, maybe the next. Can you answer something like that, Roberto?
I was not sure. Can you repeat the question again?
I will read. I'm not sure
Okay.
if I got it. How we can develop and share knowledge, entire world hydrogeological groundwater flow model. I think he says, how can we develop and share knowledge, entire world hydrogeological groundwater flow model, and observe its future trend and formulate groundwater management strategy for its sustainability? I think the question is about a model for the whole world.
I mean, there are many world initiatives, the Transboundary Aquifer Initiative, right now the Vulnerability Mapping Initiative, trying to unify methodologies and producing a kind of homogenized map. I mean, there are many protocols that are being shared in order to produce things that we can compare. But I prefer to believe more and more local, regional, national policies rather than world stuff. But it's important to have this UNESCO and UN agencies working on that scale. But I mean, I just prefer to be more connected to the local and to the regional demands.
Okay, so there's a question for, I think, the three of you. But I think from George from Togo in West Africa. Without technical knowledge, that's first for Roberto, but it worked for the three of you, I think. Without technical knowledge on groundwater, did you get water from the first borehole you drilled? How many tentatives?
I will say,
did you make before getting a well that have water?
I only did it because I had strong support from local people that knew about the place. And there was a water team from Zambia, and they were very good, and they were my teachers. So then I felt secure with their support. So the first well, I haven't done myself. I was like there to watch and to help and to do some hints, but we did it collectively, and that was very, very good.
Ryan, have you ever done a dry well?
Yeah, actually, not the very first one that we drilled, but I was in Uganda actually for 3 months about 3 years ago, helping with the local on the ground drill team. Usually I do a lot of the fundraising, education, awareness, in the developed world. So it was my experience to actually get in there and actually drill a few wells. And I remember one day we came up dry and we had to switch the well location. The truck got stuck. It was a messy day, but at the same time, I always tell this story in schools actually, because there was this older Ugandan gentleman who came up to me in the drill team, and he had this massive cowboy hat. And he told us that his name was John Wayne, and he put on this like American country accent and was trying to do like movie lines. And it was like, he had everyone laughing, and it turned the day around, and we were able to get everything done we needed to. So it all worked out okay. But I always think of that story when I think of, you know, everyone in the world's got their own stories and culture, and it was nice. I still remember the day.
And you, Enock, dry wells on your resume?
Yeah, I have had quite a number of dry wells on my resume. When you're drilling boreholes, it's not always 100% that you'll be successful in all the wells. There will always be at least a 3 or 5% percentage of dry wells. And so, yes, I have had them in my resume.
Yes, well, me too. The first one was not dry, but there were many dry wells. Yeah?
Yes. It's frustrating, but it's part of the job, right?
Or salty water. Salty water also sometimes.
Especially in rock, when you're drilling in rock, that's very hard to, you know, it happens all the time. So let me see, we have some more questions here for you, but our time is short today. We have a next session coming up soon. Okay, let me see. Andy O'Reilly from Mississippi, USA. Enock, what are your thoughts on university academic training? Is it better to be grown in your own country? If students go elsewhere, do they often return to help their country? Oh, his connection is done just now. He'll come back. So I'll go for another question before he comes back.
I can answer that question, actually. I think
Please.
for a lot of our on-the-ground local partners that we do work with, one of the things that is part of our priority is helping them build their organizations up so they have that training. So there's lots of programs that we've had in Canada. There's a famous one that's done by a school called university called St. Francis Xavier. It's called the Cody Institute, and they have a program where they take executive directors and project coordinators from local NGOs all over the world, and they bring them in for a 2-year program, or it can be 1 year. And it's to give them the tools to, you know, increase their capacity so they can do better. And they go back and implement those skills. So I think it's an important thing. Like we talk about getting ourselves lots of education, we need to be sharing that. And one of the ways it can be done is by people in the developing world coming into the developed for education. And I think heck of a lot go back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. My personal experience shows the same. Lots of people go and they come back. Actually, it's a minority that stays abroad. Most come back and apply what they've learned into their homes. So I think Enock is back. Let me see if it's connected. He could answer. Question is that was directed to him. Hi, Enock, are you there? No, not yet. Not yet. We have another question, and that will be our final questions. If Enock comes back, he answers that again. So the Groundwater Project is creating and distributing groundwater books that talk to university students. You have a hands-on experience, all of you. How to break this wall separating both things, talking to university and teaching people and reaching, the not technical people, talking about groundwater to them, what's the importance and how to make it happen.
Want to start, Brian? Or should I?
He's speaking on you all the time, Ryan. You see that?
He has such good ideas. I mean, it's a pleasure.
Go on. Any one of you.
No, I can start then. I mean, I'm going to speak about my experience and what's here surround me, and I think the water committees here in Brazil, it's a place where I think we could spread this news and the news of the groundwater. and work a lot on capacity building inside the river community, so that they are able to launch projects for their specific water basins, covering the groundwater issues, of course. It could be the protection of the groundwater, the sustainability, whatever. But we lack good projects concerning that specific context of the river basin communities here in Brazil. So for me, this is a goal, this is a start, this is a good way of spreading this news. And remember that part of this committee are NGOs, are representative from the municipalities, and the more they learn, the more they get in touch with this groundwater techniques, with the groundwater news, the more they are going to develop their own projects. So I think for me, this is a good way to go.
Ryan.
Yeah, I think when you think about groundwater and its importance in the world, I think we all, approach that in different ways, and we all take it for granted in lots of different ways. I had a bunch of Skype presentations of classrooms actually in elementary school lined up for this week in Texas. And this week in Texas, they had a crazy ice and snowstorm. And one of the byproducts is electricity went out, but then water also went out as a result. People didn't have running water in their homes that they relied on. So there were massive lines for bottled water and this kind of things. And it's just one of the things that you have to remember, that we can't take water for granted no matter where we live. And we all need to educate everyone across the world so we know where our watershed comes from, and or what our watershed is, where our water comes from, and that we keep them clean. Yeah,
yeah, I have Enock is back. Just finish this question and we'll go back to you, Enock. We have a good example here in our state, in Brazil, in São Paulo, where we have the Guarani aquifer. So a large portion of the state uses only groundwater from this huge aquifer, right? It's probably the largest in the world. And the committee, the water committees that he mentioned, they have a report on their water. In reports, if you see, they have, pages and pages talking about the rivers and nothing about the aquifer. And they are 100% served by groundwater. So that's not only the public at large, but even the technicians that work with water, they don't even think about it because they don't see. So making it visible, I mean, the concept has to come to mind when we're working. That's something that is not easy. Okay, so we'll go back to Enock. So I think your internet is gone, right? So let me, what was the question? So the question was, if the question was posed to you, what are your thoughts on university academic training? Is it better to be grown in your own country, this academic training? Or if students go elsewhere, if they do, they return to help their country, or they stay abroad? What's your experience?
Yeah, in Uganda, it's the education system is a little bit challenging. We do not have a lot of universities that are offering courses in groundwater. So most of the universities are actually, I think one of the government universities started 5 years ago, one of the courses in water resources management that now is starting to train professionals that understand groundwater. But when we look at the number of students that have left the country and have gone out, a bigger percentage, like 100%, has come back to the country, and they are supporting mostly in groundwater, because most of the students that have gone out of the country are those that get government sponsorship, and most of them work with the Ministry of Water and that when they go, since their families are back in Uganda, they are still government employees, so most of them come back. But of course, it's imperative that universities take up groundwater It's a very important resource in our country, because when we look at most of our water supplies all come from groundwater. Even in the urban areas, is approximately 42 million people, and approximately 30 something staying in rural areas, and all these are served by groundwater. So it is imperative that all universities, government, private sector should really train more and more to be, as of course the other challenge that we are having is the seniors, the ones who did during the British times, during the colonial times. Of course now they are growing older. The challenge we are having is the passing of the knowledge to the young generation. There is a big gap in that. The Groundwater Project coming in is an important step. So it's our prayer that it will be able to capture all this old generation and pass this knowledge to us, the young ones. I am so much excited when I see Roberto, when I see Ryan, and they are involved in this. I see they are advanced, and us, the young ones, we are going to tap a lot of knowledge from them.
Very good, very good. Very nice experience. Well, guys, I really enjoy our session. Personally, was very enriching for me. And I personally like, the three of you guys. We have a good contact, and we'll be in touch for time to come. I'll talk to you. We'll be, using your experience for the Groundwater Project, so we can share the knowledge and your experience to as many people as we can. Okay, so time is up. If you could put a final sentence to say, to stimulate people to participate, please, you're welcome. Go. Roberto first. So
right. I would say, no, I'm really, thanks a lot. It's very nice. I mean, to meet Ryan and Enock or Everton is a friend from old times, but it's really a pleasure. And to have all these participants all over the world, it's really an honor. And go search the Groundwater Project. I think it's a very good start, and welcome. And we count on us.
We will. Ryan.
Thanks so much. It was nice talking with you, Roberto and Enock, and everyone out there. I think my only message is that you're never too young to make a difference, but you're also never too old. So it's never too old to get engaged, find out more about the Groundwater Initiative and water across the world. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good, very good. We'll push your foundation. Don't worry, Ryan. It's a great job you're doing. Thank you again. Enock, you guy.
Yeah, thank you to the Groundwater Project. This initiative is one of those that is very rare, mostly for the sub-Saharan Africa, to engage with the rest of the world and to get this knowledge out to the ones who are out there who are listening, that please visit the Groundwater Project website, look through the books that they have put up. They have been very resourceful for me as a young hydrogeologist who is coming up. It is very, very important for people to read this and look at this knowledge, because it is what will propel us to be able to manage our groundwater, because it's not about extracting only, it's about managing for the future generations. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Good words. Thank you, the three of you, and we'll be in touch. Thank you, guys. Thank you for making their experience. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.